And you may have seen over the weekend, there were a lot of mass shootings that occurred in places like Chattanooga, Tennessee, and in Philadelphia, and a whole range of other cities. Multiple people shot, many cases killed, dozens wounded. Here's just the CBS News headline. At least 13 were killed, dozens wounded in weekend mass shootings across the U.S. Horrendous and unthinkable is, of course, the quote here. And that's true, except it is not unthinkable insofar as this happens pretty frequently. You look at what goes on in a normal weekend in Chicago. This has become far too routine in this country. So yes, it is horrendous, but the reality is we are going through a continued surge in violent crime in this country. And it's from shootings, murders, the worst kinds of violent crimes, all the way down to the day-to-day anarchy of lawlessness and people feeling like they can get away with breaking laws with impunity. I mean, for example, this was just in New York City, a Duane Reade store here, where an individual stole from the store, returned 10 minutes later after being, engaged in theft, after being a shoplifter, to attack staff with a bike chain. And he's got to know that he's on video. He's not even wearing a mask, doesn't care. Figures, worst comes to worst, he'll get arrested and he'll be out within a couple of hours. And then he'll have some progressive in the district attorney's office here in New York who says, oh, well, we don't want to make that guy's life too hard. So, let's give him another chance. And then they'll give him another after he gets arrested again, and then another after he's arrested again. This is what is playing out in cities all across the country. And progressive prosecutors, as in far left Democrats, are at the heart of all of it. People are starting to figure it out. It's not just defund the police that has made our criminal justice system so much weaker than it previously had been. It's also the progressive prosecutor movement and their desire to end what they call mass incarceration, which means just let people out of prison. Don't punish them as severely for offenses that everybody realizes are bad, but, social justice is more important than criminal justice. That has become the de facto mantra of the libs in these prosecutors' offices who are making these decisions. Well, Justice Boudin, who has turned San Francisco into something approximating an urban hellhole, he is finally facing voters who have realized what a mess he has made of their city. On Tuesday, coming up tomorrow, Boudin faces voters in a recall election backed by business owners who are unhappy with his performance, to say the least. Polls indicate his ouster is supported by the majority of residents in the incredibly left-wing city that has seen a spike in murder as well as other crimes across the country. So this could be the beginning of some accountability for what is a shockingly stupid, reckless, dangerous idea pushed by the left that, well, if we just have fewer people in prison, we'll have a better, safer society. That's not true. If people are in prison because they're a danger to their fellow human beings, that's where they should be. If people are career criminals or if people are habitual, violent, or serious offenders, they should be taken out of society where they can no longer prey upon their fellow human beings. This is pretty straightforward stuff. We've learned this over many, many decades. You could argue, stretching back throughout human history, you have to punish those who violate the laws and hurt their fellow human beings in society. Democrats say, well, we want to limit that as much as possible. Let's cut that down. Let's cut it in half. What does that result in? Well, what we see now all across the country. Remember, in 2020, you had a 30% national spike in the murder rate in this country, the biggest one-year increase in the history of recording murder rates in the United States. Okay? That's what the BLM movement, progressive prosecutors, and defund police has led to.